Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed and we are in the Philosophical Midwifery book today. This is our second stream of the same day. Today, we had a fantastic stream reading the book Socrates and Jesus, A Dialogue in Heaven. We had some fantastic new questions from some wonderful new chatters. Very exciting stuff. Now, in that stream, we reminded everybody because this is a question that Socrates raised with Jesus. Is wisdom enough to cure us from the blinding ignorance that prevents us from being able to develop from belief-based thinking, that's the cause of our problems, to understanding-based thinking? Is wisdom enough? Is the Eleusinian mysteries, the understanding and direct experience of wisdom, is that enough to free us from our blinding ignorance? Or is there something else we must do? And you and me here, after hearing a question like that from someone like Socrates, made to Jesus, we wink at each other and we give each other a good smile like that, and we think, no, it's not enough. That's why the most important thing a human being can do is master the art of philosophical midwifery. The application of this understanding that we are learning to, and the application of the dialectic to guide a human being through a systematic reflection on the nature of the problems that they are stuck in, to find its root cause and the root conditions for them to have picked up that problem in the first place. Remember, solving problems isn't just solving a problem. If your toaster keeps shorting out and blowing a fuse, or tripping the what do you call it, safety thing on your house electronics, you don't just flip it back and think, oh, I've solved the problem. Now it works. You also have to address what caused the problem in the first place. Maybe fix your toaster or get a new toaster. So, equally so, you could see that historically. We fought the Nazis and we defeated Hitler, but we still have Nazi problems, don't we? We still have concentration camps, and we still have the idea that there can be such a thing as a right-wing political movement. And really, if we actually looked at the causes and conditions for fascism or Nazism, we see that one of those conditions is to lie about there being a right wing. Right wing is in fact the Pathologos Party, a group of people bound by their shared ignorance and blinding false beliefs and a desire to inflict suffering on others. Which is why it makes no sense when people says, hey, there's an extreme left and an extreme right. And there's no such thing. What would the extreme left be? Everyone gets healthcare, everyone gets a house to live in, everyone can afford food? Wow, how extreme. Whereas the right wing is just the pathologos playing itself out socially. Which hopefully should be enough to wake up enough human beings to realize we better fucking start learning what's the cause of fundamental false beliefs that causes people to have a desire to act harmfully towards others and prevents self-reflection and blocks us from understanding. In other words, it's about time we wake up and realize our purpose here as human beings is to master the art of philosophical midwifery. Okay? Sound like fun? I think it's fun. It's the best game in town.
You're a wizard, Harry.
You're a wizard, Harry. Hey, welcome, Reeve. You're just in time. We're just saying, how important it is for every single person to master the art of philosophical midwifery. Because every human being gets a class of problems called a pathologos. It's part of being a person. And if it's not addressed, we have fascism and capitalism and genocide and all sorts of terrible, terrible things. And one such terrible thing is to lie and pretend there is such a thing as a right-wing political party. A political party with no understanding, no desire to benefit anybody other than themselves. That's not a political party. That's the pathologos. One thing we have to realize is there is no right wing. There is no such thing as Republican or conservative. That's horseshit. It's just the pathologos. A group of people bound together with similar enough ignorance and desire for harm. Because they've confused that with what it means to be knowing and strong. And they think it will give them a temporary respite from the voice of their own problems that they are failing to address in midwifery. In other words, don't solve your problems, you will inflict your problems on everyone else in the world. That's what we're seeing with MAGA and Putin and Netanyahu and all of those fascist people. They are just playing out their pathologos. It's simply that simple. But it's easy to see with those people, but it's harder to see with ourselves. But the most important thing we can do for however long we have here, whether or not we wake up enough people to the art of philosophical midwifery that we can turn the ship around and become a mature and rational species, whether or not that happens, I don't know. But however long we do have here, we can spend that time developing ourselves. We can be learning that art ourselves. We can be practicing philosophical midwifery ourselves. We can be challenging our own selves to go through the stages of reflection we're learning here today. We can be ourselves looking for people, for friends on the internet or in real life that we can reach out to and say, hey, you seem like someone who is a good person. You seem like someone who's interested in understanding. You seem like somebody who I might be able to play this game with, the game of philosophical midwifery. The evolutionary step we're here to make as a species. That is, how do we move from ignorance caused by belief-based thinking to understanding caused by ousia or nous, the brilliant light of pure being? How do we make that transition? Well, it's called philosophical midwifery, and it's the best game in town.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike?
It's fun.
What feminists want is to specifically ruin your life.
I don't think that's the case, Emma. I think we're here to have fun learning midwifery.
Well, you're doing your best. Okay, sorry.
See, we have fun. We have funny sound drops. So, with that awareness that we are in the right place, we are doing what we absolutely should be doing and what all people should be doing. So we are in following the logos or being just people ourselves. We can carry that with us with a smile and a question as we jump in, wondering about what it takes to go through this ourselves and what it would be like when if we were completely, or when we are completely free of our pathologos. We can carry that wonder and question with us with a smile, knowing we're in the right place. These people sure sound like they need help getting out of their cave. What do you mean?
Don't be disgusting.
Don't be disgusting.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
Emma from the Majority Report is telling you off, Reeve, saying you've been a bad girl and she wants to give you a vigorous spanking right now.
Call a crackhead.
And you should call a crackhead.
Elon Musk.
And call Elon Musk. All right, let's jump in. So here we are in our second of 2 case studies of somebody going through a philosophical midwifery process. This guy happened to have written a book about this called Who's the Captain? And you can check that book out. You can order a copy, and I'm sure you could find a PDF copy online, where I think, it's been a while since I read that book, but I think in the middle of writing the book, On the soundboard, I mean. Yeah, I know. I know.
Unbelievable sluts these days.
So, the book's called Who's the Captain? So you can actually read it himself. He's somebody who takes a job as a captain of a ship, and he realizes that he's facing problems captaining that ship well. Thumbs up. And those problems, of course, like all human problems, are clues being sent to us to help us go through philosophical midwifery. So he has to take a pause and in writing the book, and then he goes through philosophical midwifery with Pierre Grimes here. So what we are reading is one of these midwife sessions that he went through and he needed to go through in order to write his book, in order to be a good captain of a ship. And so Who's the Captain works on two levels. He's learning to be the captain of his own soul, his own psyche, as well as learning how to be a captain of a boat. So you can read that book. So this is someone who's been in the game for a couple of years. And we're looking at 5-minute increments of the talk. We're learning for ourselves what it would take to go through it, but also as a midwife, which I think is the green, what sorts of questions we want to ask our friends who are open-minded and curious, who are interested in solving their problems, who are interested in becoming better people. What sort of questions would we ask them to facilitate them turning around and finding the cause of their problems and freeing themselves from it? So I'm going to go back to the start and read it from the start. So I think there are, how many sections are there? 16, 17. There are 17. We're up to number 14. So let's go through to remind us where we are. And of course, any questions or comments, feel free to throw them in the chat as well. At the time of the dialogue, Subject B was married, 35 years old, a college graduate, pursuing his goal to be a writer. He had been exploring his blocks to his goals for 2 years with no prior experience in any other psychotherapeutic modalities. His father was a medical technician and an inventor. His mother was a housewife, and his 3 sisters were also housewives. Okay, so these are the 5-minute increments of philosophical midwifery gone through by this fellow. Number 1. After the initial difficulty in stating his goal, Subject B mentioned he has some practical financial problems facing him and states, "I want to write literature. I want to write stories." Well, he actually did end up publishing a book. He reports the book he is writing is becoming extremely involved and exclaims, "I love it!" But he has a reoccurring dialogue with himself about writing that disturbs him. Let me just check the compressor here. I hope I sound okay. I'm not too loud or too quiet. You can let me know in chat if I am. Well, the voice says to him, "Hey, if you're going to do that book, maybe you should spend your time looking for a job, you know? And maybe you should spend your time writing something you can get paid for." He ends his reflection with, "Besides that, I have headaches a lot." When asked when he has these headaches, so that's what we ask. Hey, by the way, when do you get them? Because our problems are rational. Each aspect of our problem can fit together, including physical pain. When do you have these headaches? He discusses a fantasy he had about coming to the talk, an imagination, where he pictured himself walking out without even talking. He acknowledges that he knows he should specify the problem he has when pursuing his goals. So he knows about midwifery. He says, he's been in it for 2 years, of course. He says, "I'm not doing it," adding, "I'm unable to move," in his fantasy. He then reports he has his headaches all day, and they restrict his activities, saying, "The only things I do are the things I have to do. I can't do anything for myself. If I could get rid of that, the headache, I feel like I could do a lot of things." He further reports, "There is one time that I know that I've had this headache every week without fail." He notices the headache begins when he's driving home after teaching a night class, which he describes as good, everything's fine. But the headache becomes more painful as he gets closer to bedtime. Interesting. Let me just fix something here. Let me just fix my EQ. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. There we go. So the headache becomes more painful after an otherwise alright teaching class as it comes closer to bedtime, which puts stress on his lovemaking.
I'm too pure.
Emma's too pure for that kind of talk. When asked if he saw any relationship between the headache state and the fantasy, he replies he doesn't. Reminded that he just said he can do the have to things, but not the things I want to. He was then asked how similar that state was to the fantasy. See, it's like Sherlock Holmes. The words that people present, that we're writing down on the board or on a notepad or something over coffee, that becomes the clues. We have to have our Sherlock Holmes hats on. And as midwives who are training in this, and because it's not our problem, it's not our blind spot, it's going to be easier for us to make some connections sometimes. But our job is to help the other person make the connections because it's their puzzle. So he's been talking about headaches that come up that prevent him from doing certain things. Number one, he also says that the voice of his pathologos says, don't do the things you want to, do the things you have to. And then the third step is he's getting a headache coming home to his wife. And so we can see, oh, it sounds like making love to your wife is probably something you don't have to do, but something you want to do. And if part of your blocks is a headache, and the voice is saying, don't do the things you want to do, can you see the connection? He concludes, the have-tos keep me where I'm at, but the want-tos, if I could do the things I want to do, that would be fantastic, he says. He reports that he becomes terrified when waking up with a headache because he knows his whole day is ruined. Even though the headache may last all day, it does not interfere with the have-tos, but he knows it will prevent him from concentrating on what he wants. And when asked to reflect on his inability to concentrate, he reports, I want to cry because I can't keep my mind on it. He can't keep focused on what he wants to do. That makes him want to cry. He recognizes that the state of mind, this is what we ask, because all of these, the headache, the voice, the have-tos and not want-tos, the crying, the anticipation of his whole day, all of these are tied to a state of mind. Remember, that's the transition to the second level. There are 4 categories of midwifery. Defining your problem. Now it starts with a problem. We don't really know what our problem is, but then when we realize everything is tied, all of these aspects, these divisions can be unified in a state of mind. Now we're ready for the next step of midwifery. Why? Because that state of mind is like our DeLorean from Back to the Future. It's our time machine. The state of mind we can trace back through our history to where we first learnt it. So, we have been through 20 minutes of asking him to reflect on the problem that he's had, reflect on a demonstration of his problem, And the problem even demonstrated itself when he was thinking about coming to the midwife talk. We gave him time to division, so definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion, the 4 parts of dialectic. So we've given some time to divide out that problem into its aspects, the headaches, the voice, the fantasies, the have-tos but not want-tos, the no more making love to his wife.
You are a fantastic moron. Freaks.
Freaky stuff. And then, so definition, demonstration, division, and then conclusion. Can you synthesize all of those aspects into a unity? And this is the same methodology for regular dialectics in philosophy, or any sort of argumentation, or thinking. It's also the same process for dream analysis. It's also the same process for constructing a good story or mythology. Because the dialectic is the structure of understanding itself. And that's what we're moving into when we're able to free ourselves from this kind of horseshit that he's living through. Negativity, blocks, suffering. We are free to move from belief-based thinking into understanding-based thinking. And one of the most highest uses of understanding-based thinking is using that structure of the dialectic to facilitate that movement in other people. That's what benefits. So, 4 categories, and each transition to a new category is marked by a new understanding or a new ousia, a new way of reflecting on yourself. And within each of those 4 are 4 steps. So the first category, let's put it on the board. Maybe I'm being a bit too complicated. Here we go. We went through this last time, but it's worth doing again. Here are the 4 aspects of the dialectic. And we can give an example. Hey, you met someone who doesn't know what a bike is? Give a definition of a bike. The subject in relation to itself. Just talk about what a bike is itself. Maybe you'll say, oh, it's something made by a bike maker from a bike shop. It's got wheels and a handlebar. Now you want to give a demonstration. You've defined it itself. How does it function to others? Demonstration. Oh, you use it to ride to the shop. Okay, that functioning, how does it divide or relate to others? Notice, self and others, just 2 ideas. The 2 most foundational ideas of thought. Everything, the first distinction you ever make is this stuffy me? Is it myself or is it an other? Because I want to drink coffee. If it's myself, then I make the stuffy drink the coffee. But if it's other than me, well, then I won't feed it to the stuffy. Self and other. The 2 most primary unit of thought and perception. We are using those 2 ideas in all 4 possible combinations. Self in relation to itself, self in relation to others in relation to others back to self. So, define the bike, self itself. How does it function or demonstrate to others? You ride it to the shop to get a meat pie. Yum, yum, yum. How else, that functioning, how does it divide into other areas? What else can you do with it? Others to others. Well, you can use it to join a BMX team. You can do a neat wheelie to impress the girl that you like. And then having been affected by all that, how do those others relate back to the self? How does either you or those others who have seen you do the neat wheelie, how do they relate back to the subject? So you take all of those divisions and you synthesize it into one other, and then you analyze, which means you take it back to the start. So the last category has 2 parts. So what? So midwifery has 4 categories that you go through. Define your problem. Find a key demonstration of your problem that you can reflect on. Divide it out into its divisions. What was happening in that origin scene, in that early scene, and how has it affected your life? And then take that division, synthesize it into a new insight about yourself and the nature of reality, and then apply it back to your original problem, either to be free of your problem or to be able to reach your highest goal, which does include a freedom from problems. And what's interesting is within these 4 categories, you jump when you see your problem or you see yourself in a new way. We look out for that ousia. When is the subject transitioning? When are they, oh, I have a new insight. I see things differently. In the first example, and by the way, these 4 categories are within these 4 categories. So you start with a definition of your problem. And when he was thinking about giving a definition of his problem, he fantasized that he didn't do it. So his problem came up even in the very first step. In the defining your problem step, the first definition. So trying to define his problem gave us an example or a demonstration of his problem. But then we reflected more on divisions. Making love to his wife, headaches, the voice that says you have to, but you only have to do, you can only do the have tos, but not the want tos. These are all divisions. See, divisions. Isn't this neat? Just one system. I think it's neat. And then the conclusion is, hey, of those divisions, how can you synthesize it into one thing? Is there one thing that accounts for the headaches, the voice, the disruptions, the fantasies, all those things? And we say it's a state of mind. Therefore, if he's able to see from that conclusion, that synthesis, that's the first O. And then you analyze it, you take this conclusion, actually my problem isn't whatever I thought it was, it's actually the state of mind. If you realize that, you take it back to the beginning and you realize what I thought was my problem wasn't my problem. It's actually a state of mind that I'm carrying with me in my life. That's a new reflection. That's a new insight. That means you have what you need to transition into the next stage. Every transition is marked by a new ousia. That's a mini enlightenment. We are watching somebody going through the stages of spiritual enlightenment. This is a waking up. We all can go through this. Spirituality doesn't have to be mystical or irrational or whatever, scary. No, it's just this. Systematic stages of understanding that awaken you to a new vision of yourself. You're letting go of what you thought was true to realize what you really are. That's enlightenment. Okay? So, and that conclusion that was the end of this one levels up to become the new definition of the next one. So the definition is now a state of mind. Talk about that state of mind. Now, can we find a demonstration of that state of mind in the past? What's an early experience or an intense experience of that state of mind from your past? Now the divisions are, what were the roles? Who was there? What was said? What role did you play within the family as you were learning this state of mind? And the conclusion is, from that, you realize your past wasn't what you thought your past was. Your idea of love isn't really what love is. You're carrying sick ideas of love, sick ideas of truth, sick ideas of justice, and you're able to see your past for what it really is. That new ability to see your past and your life is the new conclusion. You are now, so all of these categories you are going through in midwifery, but you're also leveling up as a human being. You now are able to define your problems better. You are now able to function, what demonstration means, better. You can function as a sentient animal better because you have less distortion in your memory, in your perception of yourself in your life. So that conclusion, that better functioning you now have, leveling up, you've just leveled up, becomes the new definition. And now we have to ask the question, hey, now that we have this new definition, this new way of being able to see our past with less distortion, how do we want to use it? Talked about defining a bike, and then how does it function? You can use it to get a meat pie from the shops. You can use it to get to where you want to go. But what do we want to do with it? We connect the conclusions that we have been making here from our division about our past and the relationships of our past in that early scene that we got through the time machine of that state of mind. We relate it to how it's playing out in our present. That's how we function with this new seeing. Connect the present and past together. And then from that, we want to division, take those conclusions that the midwife is asking us to make conclusions about, to division. How do we go out into the world and use it? Are we able to then meet or reach the goals we have never been able to reach? Are we able to make love to our wife in the way that he wanted to? Are we able to write the book that we wanted to write? Are we able to have the career we wanted to have that we never thought we deserved? We test out our understanding and experience. And from that, we come to a conclusion. Hey, what does that mean? That you are now the sort of person who can do that? You are now the sort of person who you used to think you didn't deserve it, or you weren't able to, or you used to think, I'm the sort of person who can't work on small things, like subject B thought. But here you are working on small things in your book. Because you realize that conclusion about yourself is bullshit. It's tied to a lie from childhood. Therefore, you come to a conclusion. The me that I thought I was, the self-image that I thought I was, isn't real. That's the conclusion. Because you can't carry the image of yourself as being someone who can only do the have-tos, someone who can't work on small things. You can't keep that and at the same time be the sort of self who is doing those things. They are inconsistent. They are, contradictions. And if there's a contradiction, you know it's not true, which is something that we should tell politicians or debate bros. If you're contradicting yourself, fascists, right-wingers, you are believing something not true. That conclusion, I am not that self-image I didn't even know I had, becomes the new definition of the next category. And when the subject that you're talking to, your friend or your loved one or whoever it is, the subject, realizes that, because they've gone out into the world and applied their conclusions from the midwife talks, over however long it takes. Now, when they come back for the next midwife talk, now your talk becomes, hey, that self-image that you concluded wasn't you, that new definition, what must be the false belief behind it that gives rise to that image? Because we know from philosophy in the divided line, remember, image thinking is the lowest part of cognition, the lowest part of the divided line. Belief-based thinking is second, understanding is third, and nous, or direct apprehension of pure knowledge and the truth of reality, that's the highest cognitive function. Well, not the highest, because there's a question about what's beyond even that, but we'll leave that for now. So we've learned from philosophy, which we have to be doing along with midwifery, that our image thinking is generated from beliefs. So if what the person realizes as they are divisioning, applying their conclusions, they're realizing, hey, I am letting go of an image of myself that I have formerly been attached to, then we know that image thinking is caused by belief. So all of our midwife talks, or most of them, or a large majority of them, however it works, now becomes about what must have been the belief that you were carrying that generates that self-image, that has been molding and shaping your image of yourself, the way you hold yourself, your expressions, your facial expressions, how you relate to people, what goals you can and cannot reach, how often you get headaches, how well you can make love to your wife.
We're gonna engage in dishonesty?
Gross.
I'm too pure.
Emma's too pure for that sort of nonsense. I don't know why I keep making that same joke. Nah, forget that. That false belief has been shaping your self-image, your character, your persona this whole time. What the heck is that false belief? That you didn't put into words at the time, that's why it's hard to identify. That's what we're doing now. We are encouraging you through dialectic and questions in the most ideal environment to put words on what you never put words on. Okay, so that new definition in the final stage, that final usia, now that they realize that the whole point is to discover and remove a self-image that has a false belief behind it, has to demonstrate. And if what we're saying is correct, that philosophical midwifery is the most important thing everyone can do, and therefore one of the fundamental aspects to the meaning of life for everyone, what we should be doing with our time, then if the false image and false belief behind it manifests to block your highest development, then it should be demonstrating in the talk itself. If the person considers midwifery to be important, and it is. If the person considers their midwife to be an insignificant character, and they are in their lives, just like the significant characters in the early scene. As that continues, division, they have to put two and two together, realize that the false image and false belief behind it was what was limiting them from their goals. It will be playing out in some way in the talk themselves, but they have to go out and be a midwife themselves. if they recognize that, oh, now I can do a lot of things I've never been able to do, but the hardest thing is to do well in this midwife talk, to keep going in this relationship. There must be something significant about being a philosophical midwife. It may be the most significant thing human beings can do. And that might be what we've been yelling from the beginning of this whole series. Which means the division or the application of that functioning would be them to go out and master midwifery. And in doing so, they might come to recognize that, hey, as I am mastering midwifery, helping people go through this process of removing what's false about the self, that might also tie in with being a dialectician in philosophy and a dream analysis midwife as well, which includes not only freeing ourselves from what's false, but then using that freedom to ask the questions, the same dialectic, to raise people up to the truth. Not only is there no individual self-image, and the false belief behind it is false, there may not even be an individual self at all. And philosophy is a supra-personal game, waking people up to the true nature of self, which is beyond any individual. That's the activity. And after they go out and practice midwifery and being a dialectician and mastering philosophy and dream analysis in that way, there's a little fruit fly flying around. I catch him. Then he would have to come to some sort of conclusion. That's not in the book. That's for you to do. That's the process. It's what we reviewed last time. Now with that in our back pocket, here we see our friend at number 5, realizing a state of mind as one familiar to him since childhood. So that first level of Usia, the state of mind. When directed to reflect on a time demonstration where it was particularly intense, that's us as a midwife, he recollects an episode with his father where he had reviewed in a previous talk. He recalls that his father had brought a lawnmower that was weird, a weird brand, and it broke down soon after being purchased. B went on to describe how he took it apart, he saw how it worked, and he identified the problem, the broken part. Now, we can already see the implications. If we know where this is heading, if we know where human beings are heading, as they go through this, they're heading to become master midwives themselves, fulfill our purpose as human beings. We can already see some analogies or correlations, right? A broken lawnmower or a soul with a problem. Breaking it down into its parts, the dialectic. Identifying the causal problem, putting it back together again without the false image of the self. So whatever level of functioning you're on as a midwife, you can gain some significance that applies to you, because one of the principles of reality is terms may change, relations stay the same. Analogy, as above, so below. So for him at this stage, it's working on a lawnmower. For you, it might be working on a person's soul in midwifery. See, it's a win-win.
It's a win. 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 It's a win.
Win-win. So, took it apart, saw how it worked, identified the broken part. His dad located the part shop 50 miles away where they could get the part. They journeyed together, got the part, He returned home, and B put it together exquisitely, painted everything, every part, and reflected it was a beautiful thing. He recalls that the lawnmower ran perfectly until the governator kicked out and it blew up. His father said simply, "You don't know how to work on the small things."
Unbelievable sluts these days.
Unbelievable statement to make these days. When asked to consider and judge his father's remark, he says, well, I think it's bullshit, but I think I believed him. And then as a midwife, we say, why? Isn't it true? When he was asked to explore what test could be applied to determine whether he does know how to work on small things or not, he says that he knows he passed that test already. But it was tough to believe it. He says he knew it was a poorly designed lawnmower, but he never believed it. This is fundamental. Beliefs are not about truth. They're just beliefs. Just believing something somebody said or did. Not truth. Truth is understanding. That's why this is so significant to go through this process. We're uncovering the beliefs we're attached to free us up to pursue understanding. Become good peoples. Become good peeps. Right, chicken? Chicken says yes. He continues to work on mechanical things and says he feels extremely accomplished when he can do something that's mechanical and precise. When asked how he understands what he is doing, he says, "I'm trying to prove him wrong." Interesting way of living your life, eh? When he was asked to review the lawnmower scene, division, right? So we're in the second category, a demonstration of the problem. The definition is that state of mind. The demonstration is this past scene. The division is the reviewing what's going on. He was then asked to review the lawnmower scene to see if he could prove his father wrong. He recalls he took it apart, saw what was wrong, understood how the damaged part functioned, explained to his father that after they drove 50 miles on his information to get the new parts, the shop owner brought the part to him to verify, not his father. He felt the trip with his father was a high because his success or the success depended on himself. When having repaired the machine, it appeared better than it was before, since as he says, he painted every part exquisitely, and it worked perfectly. It started with one pull. He recognizes his father's involvement in many of these stages, but not during the final testing. Surprisingly absent. He concludes his father was wrong. He was reminded by the midwife that they both knew who was wrong. So this is a difficulty. When we start to see this, we tend to ignore or dismiss or try and save our loved ones. Oh, he didn't know that was happening. Or my mummy and daddy is a saint. They were busy or they couldn't have known. They were just too stupid. They weren't too stupid. They both knew who was wrong. And then B says, when you said that, you know what hit me? I knew when we first started to try and find the parts, there was a problem in the basic design of the machine. They both knew it was poorly designed. It was a weird lawnmower. And they only got it because it was a good deal. Pointed out that no praise was ever mentioned for his work. Reflecting on their relationship, division, he observes that his father never gave praise but often ridiculed him. His father tried to take credit at the parts store even. When he first started the lawnmower, it went backwards and his dad fell down laughing because one of the parts was installed backwards. He concludes that when his dad, that then was when he was being ridiculed. That when he was being ridiculed, that's the most emotion I ever got out of my dad. Showing himself, wasn't he? A mini enlightenment experience when our spiritual teachers finally show themselves and pass on the teaching. That's the most emotion I got out of that guy. But he knew that what it was and fixed it in about 5 minutes. And it worked perfectly. However, when he had that further success, his father again was not around. Out getting the cigarettes and the milk. Or that stupid meat. He was then asked to reflect on the curious fact that when we believe something contrary to fact, there must be something important going on. And this is significant. This is also why we need midwifery in our world. Because there are many news reporters and politicians and capitalists and bosses and leaders, all sorts through the world, parents, who, when finding out that they're wrong, double down or dismiss it, or get mad, or try and genocide everyone, or try and send people to concentration camps like Trump is doing and the MAGA is doing. Again, that's not a political move. That's just pathologos. It's time to stop pretending there is such a thing as the right wing. It's just the pathologos party. So, but the difference is we don't do that. That's bad and immature and barbaric. We realize that if we believe something contrary to fact, there must be something important going on. There is a puzzle we need to solve. That's why we need to be seeking our highest goals with excellence. Because then you start to notice things that are self-defeating, or you're not responding to the facts the way that they should be responded to. It's a clue. There's something going on. He responds, "What the hell is going on?" He responds,
Okay, go ahead. Call a crackhead.
Nevertheless, reviewing and seeing the evidence once more, he says simply, "I still believe it." Reviewed the evidence, saw that he was believing something contrary to fact, and even though he has reviewed the evidence, he still believes it. This is the significance. This is why belief is more powerful than enlightenment. That's why the pathologos is the strongest force in the universe. That's why midwifery is the most important thing we can all be doing with our time here. He still believes it. A belief that has controlled his entire life. How he teaches, how he captains ships, whether or not people will live and die on the ship he's captaining. A belief. That's false. And he's seen it's false, but he still believes it. He still lives according to it. This is what we're here for, folks. This is what we're here for. This is the stakes. Everyone, tell your friends, get into the game. You know a good person, say, hey, you're a good person. You probably want to be doing this. That's the call to adventure. Or, as we looked at last time, here. There we go. Now, there we go. The hero's journey. A call to adventure. Hey, you look like you could be a chosen one, Harry Potter, Luke Skywalker, friend that I know who's otherwise rational, likes understanding and wants to be a good person in the world. Here is your call to adventure.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
Why don't you help and learn midwifery too? And take on that quest. What the hell is going on, says B. Reviewing and seeing the evidence once more, he said simply, I still believe it. Pausing, he reflects on the projects they had worked on together and says they all seem to have a flaw. He's putting it together now. This isn't just a one-off setup scam. It seems to be a way of being that his father is orchestrating in order to act out this kind of role. What he thinks is a Noah, likely what happened to himself. Do unto others what was done unto us. When asked about his relationship with his papa during the lawnmower episode, he says it was warm, it was full, it was rare. Exploring the sequence to the lawnmower blowing up, he is asked what other judgments his father could have made. He responds, it looks like he could have come out and said, oh, well, I guess it was a weird machine. He says his father has two alternatives. He could have said, I blew it by picking out this weirdo machine because I'm a cheapskate, or you blew it because you're a stupid kid and you'll never do anything and you can't work on small things and you're never going to make love to your wife because of your headaches and you can't captain a ship and you can't write a book. Those were the choices. Now, it's likely his father wouldn't have guessed the implications of the entire life of his child, but that's what happens nonetheless. Maybe his dad should have started learning midwifery too. It's all of our responsibilities. That's the call to adventure. Hey, there's Darth Vader's out there. Learn to be a Jedi Master. Recognizing that he had been taking the blame his whole life, Subject B becomes aware that if I got the blame, that saved him. We want to save our loved ones, which is why this can be a dangerous process, because even though we are objectively doing what we are here to do, we are objectively helping people in the way that does help, because people are so fucking attached to saving their false bullshit image of their parents that they will take the blame themselves and sabotage their own lives and even sabotage the midwives to save their fucking bullshit images. I'm pissed because it's so stupid. Why kill Socrates, you fucking idiots? To save our loved ones. Why harm yourself, human beings? Why be a savage to yourself and others? Because you happen to be raised with these people? Grow up. Sorry, being a bit carried away there. For good reason. If I took the blame, it saved him. Reflecting thoughtfully, he asked, why would I spend my life trying to prove him wrong? Where his father knew all along it was a weird machine. Yeah, you can't prove him wrong because he knows he's wrong. It's not the point. Where is it?
There's only two options at the
No.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't themselves into.
Can't reason.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a
Position that they didn't reason themselves into.
That's the point. Trying to reason with someone who didn't get there through reasoning, who set it all up and often set up scams like that so he could laugh at you the way he was laughed at. Hurt people and all that. His father knew all along it was a weird machine, so why have I spent my life trying to prove him wrong? He knew it was a weird machine and he tolerated it. But within that scene, he showed himself, that was the point, as a warm, caring father. His son, for his part, also knew the machine was flawed, but to reveal it would be to run the risk of terminating that rare display of affection. This is what's loving, you have to lie, says every religious person. Ever seen Jewish people defend Zionism, defend Palestine? Ever seen their parents? Good boy, you're a good boy, defending the genocide because we're the chosen people. You have to lie, because now we love you. Not just Judaism, it's anyone, any belief system. Because beliefs are not based on truth. That simple. Understanding solves problems. What it means to wake up and become mature. The son took, and by the way, if you start to tell the truth, but this is what it means to be a warm, caring father. Don't tell the truth, I'm a small bean. I mean, I'm not a small bean when I crush you, or when I genocide the Palestinians, or when I say that wealth inequality is a good thing, or that when I think slavery is a good thing. But when you're criticizing me, I'm a small bean. Bullshit. The son, for his part, yeah. While recalling what his father has said, you don't know how to work on small things, he knows that it was necessary for his father to admit he'd made a mistake. After coming to that conclusion, these are all conclusions that subject B is making. I'm having some fun generalizing it to the entire population because it's important to see why we're having the problems we're having as a species. And it's important to point out that this is for everyone. And you will yourself go through this defense of your loved ones. You yourself will have a counterattack and maybe try and throw midwifery under the bus too. All to get a nice pat on the head. It's not a personal thing. It's what it means to be a human at this stage of development. That's it. But as a midwife, we create the conditions for the subject to see it for himself. It's his learning. It's his insight. And by the way, that's the story of Achilles too. We might get into the Iliad at some stage on this channel too. He recalls that, by the way, when his father said, you don't know how to work on the small things, he knows it was necessary for his father to admit that he had made the mistake. After coming to that conclusion, subject B says quickly, I wouldn't have made a big deal of it. Since we got it so damn cheap, he got it so damn cheap. Who gives a shit? We had a lot of fun. See?
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
See? But with further reflection, he realizes that for his father to acknowledge that, he would have to admit his own mistake. Like all human beings have to learn. And in doing so, in admitting he'd made a mistake, he would be preserving the new, mature way of relating that had been developing. Sabotage what they have been growing together, building together. A new, mature way of being and relating. Subject B says, that's the only way it was going to make it anything worthwhile. Otherwise, that whole thing there, that's going to be love. My whole life, that's going to be what love is. For all people. We all have a scene like this. A kind of cruelty and injustice against the self based on a lie, based on someone pretending to be justified while inflicting that justice, pretending to be justified while inflicting an injustice like that against the self. We all have that scene, part of being human, and we all have therefore a sick idea of what it means to be loving. Some people it surfaces sooner than others. Some people you play the tortured child role, sometimes you play the torturing parent role. Sometimes people switch. Often it gets played out in sexual fantasies, and so on. Thus, the need for midwifery and real loving relationships based on a love of understanding. Okay. This whole thing there, that's going to be love, says B. And who the hell wants that kind of love? It became clear that through this lawnmower event, he had what appeared to him a meaningful relationship with his father. He remembers that they related as if they were equals, but then he exclaimed, "The consequence for taking the blame! My whole being, there's something wrong with it." Just like, I'm a kid. I'm just a kid. I'm no longer equal. Trying to recall that event once more, he remarks his father might have made the statement, "You don't know how to work on small things," after he had taken the lawnmower apart. Here is the thing. His memory of the past, that's this one here. So, here we have the four aspects of the dialectic, the four categories of the dialectic, which are all the stages. Cheers. Okay. When he realized there was a certain state of mind that causes his problem, that's the new usia of self and one's self problem and state of mind. We have been here. F, division of the demonstration step. The themes, the family roles. But the conclusion, the thing that's the final stage within this one, which is the mark of a new usia, a new ability to perceive yourself, self-perceptioning or functioning, which makes this conclusion also the beginning of the next stage, is a less distorted view of the past, a less distorted perception of the past. So here, it looks like he's just made that jump, right? A new usia. He's been reviewing the thing that was said, one of the division, one of the aspects of that scene. His father saying you can't work on some more things. But now he's realizing his father might have even said that after he successfully worked on the small thing. After he'd put the lawnmower back together. Which is a kind of distortion of his past that may have led himself to save his dad. Now he's seeing his dad for what he is. Fucking lying. Obviously, not only lying, saying, your job as a member of this tribe is to lie about this scene that's right in front of both of us, says every religious person ever. Every family tribe ever. There's a lie here you have to accept. If you don't, think about MAGA. Think about Zionists. Think about Putin. Think about Nazis. Think about any of these groups elevated to the stage of power in our world. Doesn't MAGA have to lie about the Epstein thing, even though it's right in front of their face? Trump is notorious liar and fascist, setting up concentration camps. An open racist, an open rapist. Rapist, I think we have to say now. Part of loyalty to the family clan is lying or rejecting your own understanding or mind to be an accepted member of the family tribe. That's why we have the problems we have. But when we've accepted it, that makes it harder and harder to relate. Ever talk to a MAGA? Hey, do you know how many times Trump lied in his last presidency? You know how many convictions? You know how all of the crimes he's been committed of? You know, etc., 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 facts, evidence, reason? They get very defensive, don't they? They don't turn around and change their mind, do they? Where did they learn that? Where did we learn to be savages in such a fucking terrible way as human beings? This scene. He's realizing that his father said that after it was obvious that it was a lie. A less distorted perception of the past. Now this can be a shock. So, you know, have a good bedside manner. I don't know what to say about that. It's important to realize. Beliefs are not based on truth. And especially these. You're told to believe the lie. Ever asked a Christian how old the world is? Hey, dinosaurs. Doesn't matter. Screw dinosaurs. I have to believe the lie. Noah's Ark. What did all those animals eat on that boat? Where did all those animals? What part of the world has all of the animals? Shut up. To be a good member of the clan, our family clan, and then whatever that prepares us for with joining MAGA, being a Nazi, being a religious person, being someone who commits genocide on other religions, comes down to this. Keep reading. Thus the call to adventure. The world is in peril, Luke Skywalker. The Empire and Darth Vader are killing everyone, and maybe will bring an end to civilization itself. You have to master the way of the Force and master understanding so human beings can free themselves from their allegiance to lies that harm themselves and everyone else. Can you do it, Luke? You're my only chance. Harry Potter. You're the chosen one, Harry Potter. Sometimes I wonder if it's worth being forceful, going hard with those conclusions. It's true, and we have to, if we realize that we can stop murdering children or starving people or creating, making the world a fucking hellscape for everyone except for a few billionaires. We don't have to do this. We can live in a amazing world of fun and freedom and happiness for everyone. So these things I'm saying are true, but sometimes I wonder if saying them so directly and forcefully and pushing the stakes and amplifying the implications of this, I wonder if it's the right thing to do. It's a fun game. I don't want to put anyone off the game. And maybe, you know, other people will need to realize for themselves, oh shit, all human problems are just this. And the reason why we still have the problems is because we're not learning this art. Not enough people have accepted the call to adventure. Everyone is either at stage 1 or stage 3. Very few people have jumped into 5 on this map here, crossing the threshold. Maybe it's for everyone else to realize. I don't know. I've always been puzzled why everyone doesn't get onto this. As soon as I found out about it, I was like, fuck yeah, get me on a plane today. I mean, my problem was being poor and not having the money to get on a plane, but I managed to get to California a few times. Despite how difficult it was trying to do it without any money and doing it on my own. So I'm always surprised by why isn't everyone else on board? And is it worth me just being straightforward with the conclusions? If you've been in this game for 20 years or so, it's obvious. You've seen hundreds of talks, thousands of midwife talks, dream analysis talks, read the book a bunch of times, midwife people a bunch of times. Obvious. Is it worth just saying what's obvious and true? I don't know. When I don't know these things, I tend to fall on the side of telling the truth, rather than holding it back until maybe other people realize, oh shit, every political parliament house meeting or every Senate floor meeting should start with dream analysis and midwifery. Every single one. Otherwise, how are we ever going to solve human problems? Yeah, that's the case. Every school class, before morning tea time, dream analysis and midwifery. Thank you very much. It's where we are. It's the human game. It's literally why we're here. Not personal opinion, that's just the truth. I don't know. Do I say it? Do I hold it back? So I also want this to reach a lot of people. Same thing with how often do I stream. This is my second stream today. It's not the same. Like, we did a different text this morning. We did Socrates and Jesus. We did a philosophy thing, and now it's a midwifery thing. Is that too much? I don't know. I mean, the thing I'm working on is, well, if someone does come across it, whether now or 10 years in the future, there'll be a lot of material they can go through. And maybe the more I do it, the more charming I'll get at it. I don't know. And of course, maybe I'm more likely to get an audience if I stream more often, which means affiliate, which means I can get money to buy, hopefully, I don't know how affiliate works, but it'd be nice if I could get some sort of income going so I could pay for a better webcam or a real camera like the other Twitch streamers. I'm not playing video games, but I don't know. Might make it more appealing. I don't know. I've been running with that stick and that backpack on my own for a very long time, so I don't know about these sorts of things. I don't know how to get people into it. I'm trying, been trying my whole life. So, yeah, I don't know. Keep trying, I guess. Hopefully something will stick. But if you're watching it, then at least it's good for something. If I only reach one person and it's you watching and you've gone through it whenever or wherever you are, then I guess it's worth it. Thumbs up, says the computer. Oh, and fireworks, says the computer. There we go. Maybe that's a sign from the gods. Let's take that sign and run with it. It would have hurt worse because if he'd said you only know how to work, you don't know how to work on small things, after he'd even taken the lawnmower apart, that would have hurt worse, says B, because it would be laid out and there would be obvious proof.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason
Themselves into.
There you go. The reasoning and the evidence was in front of them. He asks, why does it keep going away? What? His memory. He's asking about that stage. The stage here. This transition. Whoops. This transition. Reflecting on his themes and roles, now he has a less distorted view of the past. That's an upgrade. That's a leveling up. He's now in stage 3 of the 4 stages of midwifery. He's asking, why am I stuck here? Why does it keep going away? It's like, I don't want to look at this. Takes courage. Takes practice. Ideally, it takes a community around you, which is, again, a difficulty I've been having. But maybe with this Discord and Twitch, we will find something there. Because it takes time. It takes 2 years he's been reflecting on the scene. If he can hold on to that true vision of the past, less distorted version of the past, he can move on to the 3rd stage and see how our past is the higher of the analogy that we play out into the present. Our present is the lesser reflection of this origin scene. That's the nature of problems. That's why people project. Ever heard the expression, every accusation by the right is a every accusation by the right wing is a confession. Yes, because the right wing is the pathologos. So when you say, oh, the left wing are also authoritarian, no, they're not. Authoritarian means right wing, means pathologos. There are people who pretend to be progressive or who were progressive a little bit and then hit their pathologos and then hey, those comedians that were edgy when they were young and then they get a bit of money and a bit of fame and all of a sudden, pathologos comes in hard. And they become fucking Nazis. Joe Rogan and Chappelle and you name them. There's Joe Rogan sphere. Theo Vaughn. Nazis. Fascists. Supporting other fascists. They are playing out their past in the present. They're projecting. That's why every accusation is a confession. Projection means you are carrying something to project it onto the past. It can't be the future. Sorry, you're projecting onto the present. That's what projection means. It can't be a projection of the future because you don't know the future. It has to be the past. That's the nature of problems. That's the significance of the pathologos. That's one more call to adventure.
And I find that very entertaining.
All right. So he's wondering, how come I can't make that leap? Why is it I keep forgetting? I keep distorting my view of the past. So he's in the transition between G lesser and G greater. Well, this G is the final stage or the greater of this stage, but it becomes the lesser of the next stage. That's how we evolve. The higher we reach on one level, the understanding we develop through midwifery, we can take with us into philosophy. Or the sorts of people that we're more likely to connect with when we reach out are sorts of people who love learning. They're already understanding. They're already trying to solve human problems. They are already seeing that there is no right wing. It's just the injustice party. They're already trying to share progressive ideas. They're the best of us. And the best of us can take that way of being to be the bottom of the next stage, but a higher stage, which they can then move through. So he is saying, how come I can't make this? So it's the greater of this one, the lesser of this one, but it's the lesser of a greater realm. So actually this is the greater, because he's in a whole new level of development now. He can see clearly, more clearly than before. So if someone says, oh, you know what? I do see a lot of what you're saying about midwifery and it being the purpose of life and stuff, but like Albert Ellis said, and like, maybe Joseph, I think Albert Ellis and maybe some other people said, oh yeah, okay, Pierre, I know what you're saying, but I like being the top of the food chain when it comes to psychotherapy at college. I like having my degree and tenureship. I like having all the money that I get. You say, oh yeah, well, I know that you are considered, you're the founder of cognitive behavioral therapy or whatever, or you wrote The Hero's Journey, or you're Alan Watts, or you're L. Ron Hubbard, you're the top of your field, so you think. But if you take that into the next level, says Pierre in chapter 1 of his midwife book to all of these figures, that's why he's the Luffy. He runs into these great people and he challenges them to join their crew, his crew if he can. Yeah, you're the top of one stage and you'll be at the beginning of the next stage, but actually it's still a level up. This is still the greater. So whatever fame you leave behind, whatever money you leave behind, and in philosophical midwifery, whatever role you have within the family, you're the best Jew, you're the best evangelist, you're the best racist, or whatever it is that you get from home, sitting in daddy's chair when you have kids yourself. Yes, you sacrifice being that to begin a new journey. but it is a much, much greater journey. You're actually in the greater. So, likewise, he has to sacrifice whatever he is doing to take the blame, sacrifice his image of his dad to take the blame his whole life. And part of that taking the blame and saving his image is to say, hey, when dad said I couldn't work on small things, that was before I took the lawnmower apart. That's a distortion to save our images. And he's saying, how come I keep forgetting that? No, he was openly lying. It's almost as if I don't want to look at this. We heard it, didn't we? He is sacrificing his image of love. It was a warm, what was it? When asked to reflect on that scene, he understood it from a kind of distortion of the past as something warm, as something caring, warm and caring father. This is going to be love. Is it loving? Was it warm? Was it caring? How can he how can he maintain what he thinks is his highest on this level? Can he maintain that warm caringness, love, a special moment, while seeing the past as it was, seeing his father was lying when it was all in front of him? Not dumb, it was there. That's the sacrifice. So in the first chapter of this book, L. Ron Hubbard would have to sacrifice being the leader of Scientology to do something better. Albert Ellis, same thing. Cognitive behavioral therapy, out the door. Not about behaviorism. It's not about emotions. It's about understanding. Can't have both. You sacrifice what you think is the best of the lower level, but it's actually not the best, to awaken to a higher level of being. And sure, you start at the bottom, but you don't end in the bottom. Now you're on the hero's journey. So when Pierre was meeting these guys in wherever he was, I think he used to Greenwich Village in New York. I've never been, but hopefully one day Greenwich Village, New York will be a holy site, and we'll have a big statue erected for Pierre, because hopefully we will save our species from extinction, which can only happen if we wake up to philosophical midwifery. So if we do that, we will see, oh shit, that conversation he had, super significant. And we'll have statues erected to honor that conversation that he had in Greenwich Village over coffee. Maybe that can happen one day. Let me just pick something here. That'd be neat, actually. I say it, I'm kind of half joking. But yeah, like, if we save humanity, it's going to be because we see the significance of midwifery. That will include the significance of that conversation with these people in New York. So yeah, why not have a statue? Call to adventure. Are you willing to cross the threshold into the new world, where you start as you might be the greatest moisture father on sort of moisture farmer, whatever you were when you started, Luke Skywalker, but now you are the stage 1 Jedi. You're right at the beginning, but you're a Jedi. That's much better than a moisture farmer. That's better than the leader of Scientology. That's better than a preacher of whatever you want to call Alan Watts. That's better than cognitive emotive behavioral therapy. It's actually solving problems. Do we still have problems even though we have cognitive and emotive behavioral therapy? Of course we do. Individually and as a species. Why don't we upgrade? Why does it keep going away, says B. It's almost as if I don't want to look at this. When asked what effect taking the blame has on his understanding of the encounter with his father, he says, taking the blame, it makes me forget, and it makes it a foolish thing. He can now conclude that his father laid the thing on me. He can now conclude, At this point, he makes a connection and gains an insight into the boat trip he had made, which is now the subject of the novel that you can buy. Who's the captain? What keeps racing through my mind? What keeps racing through my mind? Because I found the key to the goddamn boat trip just now. Insight, isn't that neat? Imagine talking to this person for 2 years and then having this moment with him. Where a friend of yours, a dear friend of yours, a real kind of friend, suddenly stands up and goes, I just found the key to the goddamn boat trip just now. Wouldn't that be a wonderful experience? If there's ever any accounting for the life you lived at the end of your life, whatever happens after we die, facilitating this kind of experience after 2 years of reflection, a kind of rare new awakening of an insight into a problem that has been bugging him in his job and in his book. Do you think facilitating that for someone else will mean something if there's an account of your life at the end of it? More than anything, maybe? Something to wonder about. Not the same as slaying Darth Vader. But it's something significant. I just found the key to the goddamn boat trip just now, and that's what's bugging me. B recalls that he had ingeniously saved the sailboat he was captaining from sinking. During a storm, the owner's son, who was one of the crew, started the ship's motor, which caused the anchor chain to wrap around the ship's propeller and caused the ship to take on water and subsequently run aground. So, in that scene, he actually saved the day. Somehow. Guess you'll have to read the book to find the full story. And if you do read the book, share it with us on Discord. How did you find the book? Was it neat to read this first and then read the book? How did he save the day? Considering it again puzzling, he reports that he also took the blame for running the ship aground, saying, look, like I took it. I took the blame. He agrees that it was by accepting the lie. How many lies do believers have to accept? Is belief itself a lie when we have understanding on the table? By accepting the lie that he could keep the relationship with the owner's son. When asked what would happen if he had disagreed with his father in that early scene, he says, well, when you said that, I felt something horrible would happen. Something terrible. And since he saw no other alternative, he could only keep that pain and swallow that shit. Disgusting.
Don't be disgusting.
Don't be disgusting. We got one. Now, asked repeatedly why he believed his father, the midwife suggested that the way to answer that question further was to explore the state of mind in a past scene prior to the lawnmower scene where someone in the family opposed his father. So he had already believed it was too dangerous to challenge his father, lying to him then. Meaning he's already learnt it. Meaning someone even earlier might have challenged his father in the family. So, look at that state of mind in a past scene. The state of mind, the new Usia from stage 1 to stage 2, is our DeLorean, is our time machine. That we take our Sherlock Holmes hat with us, and we take the DeLorean back to find and solve the puzzle. My tuk-tuk. Subject B is where we are. Let me pull out my highlighter. Not that. This one. This one. Subject B remembers a past scene. Good for him. He was a young boy riding in the back seat of a family car. The family was going to a beautiful lakeside. His mother had a road map and was giving directions to his father. Mother had the road map, he was giving directions. She told him where to turn, but he passed it. Uh-oh. I remember that his father has a pattern of passing the blame. I wonder if it's going to happen here. It's not a big deal, thought subject B. Again, hey, earlier, it's not a big deal. We had fun. I wouldn't have cared if you made a mistake, Papa. But his father insisted it was his mother's fault. A way of relating to his son, the same way of relating to his wife. Almost as if we learn a way of relating from our own parents that we can only dissolve through philosophical midwifery. Because
The problem is that
You can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves
into.
making midwifery the most important thing we can do while we're here. I say that a lot, don't I? Does it help? Reminding us? Maybe it makes you feel good. Maybe it puts a smile on your face. Oh, he keeps saying it's the most important thing we can do. So I guess it's good that I'm watching this video and not, I don't know, playing a video game or something. Trying to scam money out of the poor people. Whatever. Insisted it was his mother's fault, saying she didn't turn in time. There was a heavy fight between them. Well, that's his words, so let's put that in yellow. Papa said it's Mum's fault. She didn't turn in time. And subject B says, not on that one. This one. There was a heavy fight between them. In the analysis of this scene, the subject sees that his mother would not accept the blame, but insisted it was his father's fault. Good for her. Hey, welcome's us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's up, philosophy bro? Do I have a bro-like look today? Is it because of my tuk-tuk? Do I look like a philosophy bro? And no, usually when you say hi, there's a cute emoji dancing or something. Where's my You call all men bro. Okay. Where's my dancing emoji? Normally you have a cute dancing emoji when you... There we go. Got a cow and a little fairy person. Have a look. Cow and a fairy person and heart and a kitten. A Moogle. Oh, a Moogle. Oh. Is a Moogle a thing? Like, is it a TV show or something? The Moogles? Like the Snorks? Who are the Moogles? Moogle is from Final Fantasy. Oh, I love Final Fantasy. I have never had the time to go through Final Fantasy, but I love that genre. It does sound like a TV show. Meet the Moogles. You could write it. If you do write it, make sure that you... Yeah, I love that genre. One day I'll have time to play those games. If you do write a TV show called Meet the Moogles, make sure you use the characters in the stories to personify everything you've been learning about philosophy and midwifery, because that's called mythology. Get the word out. The most important thing we can be doing is learning philosophical midwifery, because that's how you solve human problems, by doing a dialectic with someone you care about over time, helping them recall the past, recall where they learned a false belief, get them to reevaluate it and free themselves from it so they can reach their highest goals. Put that in the season, in the arc of season 1 of Meet the Moogles by Sus. And give me partial writing credit because I told you the idea. So we're in subject B. If you remember, B was reviewing the lawnmower scene. Yes, Captain, and 10% of all gross on the back end. Don't know what that means, but get the money. Subject B was reviewing an early scene working on a lawnmower with his dad, and his dad concluded, "Hey, you can't work on small things," and he took the blame. He believed him, even though he was working on small things very well with the lawnmower, and it was his dad's fault because his dad bought a cheap, weird lawnmower. And this blame that he took to save his father and the warmth of that scene, he thought, hey, this is what love means, taking the blame. He then realized that, hang on a second, after 2 years of reflecting on the scene, he said it after I had already fixed the lawnmower. So I can't save him anymore. I can't pretend that he didn't see me working on small things. It was in front of both of us. A less distorted view of our past. And he says, well, I don't want that to be love. Lying in a way where I've never been able to reach my goals. I've never been able to make love to my wife the way I want to do. I haven't been able to write the book I want to write. All because I can't do what I want to do because I believed him when he was fucking lying to me. I don't want that idea of what it means to be loving. And then the midwife asked, what would have happened if you challenged your father right then and there? And he said, well, when you just asked me that, I have a question, but I'll ask some other time. Are questions always worth it? Because psychology talks a lot about grey rocking. People, what's grey rocking? But when people engage, should we always try for reciprocity and being relatable? Ooh. Are questions always worth it? But what we're learning here is a method of question, a structure of questioning that encourages people to reflect on the root causes of the problems they're facing in their everyday life. So we're learning the art of asking questions, or the art of dialectic. We do a similar thing in dream analysis. When somebody has a dream transcript from the night before or whenever, they audio recorded it and wrote it out from the audio. We ask them questions to unpack the drama, just like your Meet the Moogles TV series. So hopefully there'll be a setting, and there'll be a goal, and there'll be a main character who either reaches the goal or faces a block. And hopefully the solution to the problem should be within the content of the dream itself. So there's an artful direction in asking questions. Let's see if I've understood your question. Grey rocking is a tactic for narcissistic people. Ooh. The grey rock method is a psychological strategy to protect oneself from abusive, manipulative, or controlling behaviors by acting unresponsive and uninteresting. Yeah, if it's not a real question, I get that a lot when I play music. So there's a certain class of people who are gross and just interested in crushing something beautiful the way their dad crushed them or their mum crushed them. And if it's not a real question, I say, I'm not interested in that question. Tell me your question. What are you curious about? What's the self? What's your highest understanding so far about the nature of self and reality? Or what puzzles do you have about what's blocking you from your own excellence? Sometimes there are some people, how much was your guitar worth? I'm not telling you, you crackhead, you're going to steal my guitar. Get out of here. There's a lot of undercover cops that approach me and say, oh, so I probably like to make money because you're not paying taxes, right? Get out of here, you fucking undercover cop. Fuck you. Not interested in questions that are not real. I mean, that's my experience, but let me see if I've understood you. The goal is to make the toxic person lose interest and move on. Well, what about you losing interest? Well, you say, I'm not interested in you. Get out of here. Go paint a fence. Or whatever you say in your culture. Go kick rocks. Go read a philosophy book and come back when you have a real question about the nature of reality. Not giving too much information. Yeah, I get that a lot. It's a good one. Australian cops. Yeah. Like 10 years ago when I was playing music, there were a lot of people around having fun. But nowadays, because the billionaires, because we haven't done midwifery and addressed the root causes of capitalism, which is just fascism through billionaires, that's all it is. Now there's no one with money. So very few people go out and have fun anymore because all the billionaires have stolen everything and the rent's just doubled and grocery prices have doubled. It's fucked. We need to demand a mastery of philosophical midwifery from every single politician. Until we do, we're going to be screwed. Anyway, so there are a few real people hanging around, but there are a lot of cops because the billionaires need to hire cops to protect their wealth and to crush the people. It's easy to tell because they're the ones that are more confident and they're rude. And if you disagree with them, they get mad and violent. I think 40% of cops have charges for domestic violence. So police should have a greater responsibility to master justice through understanding. At the moment, it's less because the billionaires don't have to deal with them. They don't care. That's why Trump is sending the stupidest people, ICE people, into just harass and murder and kill people and send them off to concentration camps and all sorts. Yeah, you're not allowed to have fun unless you're rich. That's the game at the moment. You don't get to participate in fun or life. Billionaires get to do whatever they want. And if you ever speak up about it, we'll kill you. It's fascism. That's capitalism. Yeah. It wasn't as bad in Australia, but it's gotten very, very bad very, very quickly here. Which is crazy because we have a lot of natural resources. We could be one of the wealthiest places, but the politicians have sold all of our natural resources to American and Japanese oil companies for free. They don't pay any taxes. They completely destroy our environment and they take all our wealth. And they sell us back our own energy at the highest prices in the world. So the Australian government is fucking corrupt at the highest level. Not as bad as the outright Nazism that's happening in America right now. Las Vegas completely just tumbled down over. No one's going there anymore. Yeah, I wouldn't go to America. Fuck that. I mean, every time I have been to America in the past, I have dealt with security agents which were bastards. I got harassed and abused by airport security. Like the thing I noticed going into the American airports, the people working in the American airports were the meanest, cruelest, most arrogant and ignorant people in all of the other airports. They got a chip on their shoulder. Like, why are you so mean and cruel? Like, why are you acting like I am like some sort of undercover spy and you're John Diehard and you have to be a hard ass? Why can't you just talk like a person? Why do you have to go through my phone? Why can't I make a phone call? Why do I have to sit in this room for 6 hours? Stupid. Yeah, America has a lot of problems that needs to be addressed very quickly. Through midwifery, which is why we're doing this. But yeah, that's important. Yeah. Yeah. I suspected there was some other reasons behind the guy being worried about an Irish spy. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's a good question. Are people's questions genuine? And if you're in a rare group of people who was learning midwifery and learning philosophy, both of which is the dialectic, then you have a greater understanding of question asking. In other words, you should be leading the discussion. Like if you're new to basketball and you've got Michael Jordan on your team, he should be captain, right? He should be calling the plays. So if you're learning how to artfully ask questions to encourage logos, so the right kinds of questions, the questions about understanding and beauty and justice, but the dialectic is how you ask questions to encourage self-reflection, ousia, on what's most meaningful, either their meaningful goals or the blocks to their meaningful goals. It's either, or their dreams. Those are the three. If it's not a question about one of those three things, then you're wasting everyone's time. You're wasting your own life energy. Now there's a fourth thing, using your understanding of philosophy, midwifery, and dream analysis to meet the moguls, to make mythology. So you can ask them, but that's really, an extra thing. So if your questions are not about your highest understanding of the nature of self and reality, philosophy, if it's not about the blocks you are facing towards reaching your highest goals with excellence, and it's not about the dreams you've been having, then you're literally wasting the precious time you have here on planet Earth, where we are most well suited for that kind of reflection. And therefore we can conclude it's the meaning of life. It's why we're here. Philosophical midwifery isn't just how some people solve problems, it's how all people solve problems. It's the problems we face as we reach our spiritual enlightenment, but it's also the problems we face with Nazis and MAGA and wealth inequality and capitalism and fascism. It's human problems, because all human problems comes down to a blind loyalty to false beliefs we developed in early origin scenes that prevent us from moving from belief-based thinking to understanding-based thinking. So when we say the most important thing a human being can do is midwifery, we mean all human beings, in all galaxies, all sentient beings. Even a million light years away, even a million years into the future. It's the same game. How to transition from belief to understanding. That's evolution. That's midwifery. Now, once you are sufficiently free of your blind allegiance to beliefs, you're not shooting yourself down, you're not undermining understanding, you're not trying to save a scene like this where dad crushed you but you thought it was love and you wanted to pretend that he was a saint. You're not doing that anymore, then you're free to actually develop understanding even better. Once you're free of beliefs, you can develop understanding. That's the transition. And the thing about understanding is you can understand the meaning of life. You can understand the nature of being or ultimate reality. You can understand the self that's beyond even being, beyond even knowledge. The understanding of those things is our method to reaching those things. So we're reading the symposium at the moment, which is the study of being, but the aspect of being that's beauty itself. In the Republic, it's everything the way it has to be, most perfectly ordered, or justice itself. So the second most important activity you can do is philosophy. Use that freedom from your unsuspected false beliefs that cause problems. Use that freedom to develop understanding of actual reality. Now that you've let go of your false beliefs about what's loving, your false beliefs about yourself, now you can actually use understanding to figure out the truth. And understanding evolves into the direct experience of it. That's the enlightenment experience. That's what enlightenment is. And that's also the divided line. So in Book 6 of the Republic, Socrates says, hey, look, human beings are trapped on the low side of the divided line. The low side, this side of the line here. Because human beings from a young age get beliefs. That's the scene we're exploring here in this review of the midwife talk. The beliefs cause our image thinking, especially the image we carry of ourselves. Our beliefs mold our self-image, our way of holding ourselves, our facial expressions, what we're identifying with. So our beliefs cause our image thinking, and our image thinking only serves to justify our beliefs. That's why people don't change, or...
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
It's not a reasoning. That's why midwifery is the most important thing, because midwifery takes you back to where you learnt that belief, which was an imitation of a scene. So this is the visible world of becoming, where we get our opinions, shadows and images. But understanding is the understanding of how to ask questions. That's why you should be asking the questions, not some narcissist. Dianoia is the dialectic. We are learning how to ask the questions that help people to reflect on the root cause of their beliefs, that can allow them to free themselves from the visible world of obscurity of opinions, cross this line so they can develop dianoia, understanding. Understanding comes from nous, just as image thinking comes from our beliefs. The brilliant light of pure being, the intelligible experience, the experience that is knowable, can be seen clearly, objectively true for all people. That's called nous. The capacity or the sense that you have that you can turn around and know yourself as eternity. So people who have that experience, like in various different ways, meditations and drugs and near-death experiences and childbirth, all sorts, they say, hey, I'm no longer afraid of dying because I know this isn't me. I've just had an experience of this and I know that I'm eternal. That's called nous. The intelligibility, the fact that it's understandable, is the cause of understanding itself. Dianoia. So dianoia can, in midwifery, help people get over their problems, including Nazism, including individual problems. But then a freedom from that is philosophy. Philosophy is the application of the dialectic and self-logos to nous, which is what we're doing in the symposium. What is beauty itself? In the realm of being. And that understanding prepares our mind for the experience of it. That's enlightenment. A new insight into the nature of self and reality, completely different than what you used to think. but you remember it. Oh my God, how could I have forgotten that I was everything? Dianoia can also, after you come out of that experience, because it's an experience, it has to have an end. After you come back into your body, you can think about, oh, it was a oneness, but intellectually I can recognize that it has aspects: beauty, justice, goodness, eternity, truth, recognition of self. That's philosophy, the study of those experiences, either to get there or to make sense of it afterwards. And by the way, if that's the experience of beauty itself, and you want to make a beautiful program, or you want to have a beautiful relationship, or you want to make Meet the Moguls the most beautiful kids show that's ever been made, that's where you get your model. So Dianoia helps you get there, helps you maintain it, make sense of it, and use it. But also, philosophy transfers into a higher use of understanding. Hey, if there are aspects that come together into a oneness, what's the cause of that? That's the transition from philosophy into philophronesis, or the study of what's the self that generates that? What's the self that has that experience? What's the cause of that experience? What's beyond even enlightenment? What's the self that's even beyond transcending knowing? That's the higher functions of midwifery. Midwifery, or the use of the dialectic. Here we're learning how to facilitate people to remove their false images by re-evaluating the false beliefs. Then as a midwife, you are the one asking questions, not your narcissistic friend. After they're sufficiently free for a while of their problems, you can ask them, hey, have you ever wondered what's beauty itself? Maybe we should read the Balboa translation of the Symposium together, like we're doing on this channel. And maybe as you ask questions and you go through the Symposium, you might get lucky and have a direct experience of it. Then you might want to ask them questions about that vision, so they can keep it. You don't want to forget it. You don't want it to go away like a dream. You better talk about it after you've had that experience so you can remember it. And then you might want to ask them questions. Hey, have you ever wondered if there's something beyond even that? So those are the 4 functions of Dianoia: to help someone remove their beliefs, to help reach nous, to help understand nous, and to wonder about the self beyond nous. If you're not doing that, philosophy or midwifery, or dream analysis, because your dreams give you instructions on how to do this and what you're missing about your problems and what you're missing in the Symposium to help you do this, your dreams are your guide. So if you're not doing philosophy, if you're not asking questions about this, or in midwifery about this, then you're wasting your time. And you can just say that. Hey, that's not a question about your blocks, and that's not a question about your highest vision. Let's tell the truth and let's have a real question, hey? Or let's have a look at a dream that you've had, because that will give you the questions you need to ask about both. That make sense? That's the hero's journey. You are encouraging somebody through your questions to accept the call to adventure, cross the threshold into a new world, Dianoia. And when you come all the way back, you return at number 12 with this new art called philosophical midwifery. I hope that makes sense. Now, we are seeing this in action here. And so, he thought, I can't question my dad when he is lying to me, because I feel like something horrible would happen. So I have to keep the pain and swallow that shit, he said here, which is terrible language.
It's sad, and I'm sad for you.
And the oracle is sad for him. So, which means he's already learned not to question the family teaching, which is false. It's a bad belief. So the midwife asks him, can you trace that state of mind to an even earlier scene where somebody challenged your dad? And we're looking at that now. His mother had the roadmap, was giving directions. Mum said to turn. His dad passed it. B thought B was a kid. That's not a big deal. But his father insisted it was his mother's fault that she didn't tell him to turn in time. And there was a heavy fight between them. In the analysis, so we then encourage him to understand that scene, the subject sees that his mother would not accept the blame and insisted that it was his father's fault. Good. His father would put up one hell of a fight rather than admit to a small error. As it became obvious to be that the blame issue was always... So he's having an insight, isn't he? Became obvious, so we're facilitating insight. That the blame... That's too dark a color. Undo that. Became obvious to be that the blame issue was always over something trivial, because it was always transparent who was wrong. So lying is part of the game. It has to be something that you can easily see he's lying about. He also came to realize and accept that we have realize and accept that it was through such scenes that his parents could exhibit their intense feelings. It's this way that we get to show ourselves. You want to know what the problem is with MAGA? By Donald Trump being the absolute worst kind of racist, bigot, fascist, and saying this is good, then if you put on that red hat, you finally have a way of expressing your feelings. Because no one usually cares about your dumb opinions, your racism. But now, hey, I get to express my feelings as I join ICE and abuse people. Or get to yell racist slurs on Twitter. We want a way of expressing ourselves. This is the way of expressing ourselves. Philadelphia. It's the new way of being for the new age. That's the importance of us learning this here. Hooray for us. So he realized that it was through these scenes that his parents get to show their feelings. And he says, that's how they get it, feelings. You want to have feelings? Hey, you ever wonder why the Mormons send like 17-year-olds who know nothing about reality, know nothing of the dialectic, know nothing of understanding problems, but just have a bunch of stupid beliefs? You know why they get sent door to door? Because when they get rejected for being wrong and rude and arrogant for thinking that they understand shit they don't, gives them feelings. We are the persecuted race. We are the chosen people. Forgive them, Jesus. They know not what they do. When they say, get the hell out of here, you're a teenager, you know nothing. They don't know that I am smarter than everyone. All right. Similarly, they're orchestrating a kind of bullshit thing. Obviously, he's wrong, but they get to be intense with their feelings. Thinking about the lakeside and its beauty, he says, God, it was exquisite, but adds, it wasn't a very much fantastic place after that fight. That's the significance. It kills real beauty. Subject B reflects on the fight scenes, for they happened probably a lot of times. So, we're back in a demonstration of that state of mind. So we're in the second category. We're looking for divisions. How many other times did they fight like this? Probably a lot of times, he says. And he describes it saying, it's like sitting in the back seat and watching a Greek tragedy. This is another thing you can do as a midwife. Encourage descriptions through analogy and like this. What's it like? Not only what does it feel like, but can you use an analogy? It's like sitting in the back seat and watching a Greek tragedy. See how that can add more to it and maybe open up a new insight? After reflecting a short while, he recognized that this is how parents show feelings to one another. This is how his parents show feelings to one another, saying, they bitch and moan at each other. That's how they communicate. Now, what we are learning here, what we've been talking with Sus today about, is the real way of communicating. Who should be asking questions, and questions about what? And how do you reject bullshit questions from narcissists or undercover cops or crackheads trying to steal your guitar? How do we offer a new way of being for MAGA and for everyone that isn't based on hate and bigotry and racism, but a new way of being based on self-logos and dialectic and self-reflection, ousia, that allows us to communicate and express what's most meaningful to us? Because if we don't, we fall back on these patterns from childhood. That's why we say love without understanding is terrible. You're just going to end up with someone who has a similar enough pathologo scene that you'll fight in the same way. Oh, we yell at each other. That's how we express ourselves. Oh, we never talk in our family. That's how we show love. We give insults. We call people stupid or whatever. And we prank them. That's how we show. Really? That's how you show yourselves? We complain about the immigrants. That's how we express our feelings in this house. We yell at the Fox News. What we're learning is a new way of being that everyone can play based on understanding. They bitch and moan at each other. That's how they communicate. He notes that it was through failures that they can act out this drama. Very different than encouraging higher success and excellence, right? He also notices, so let's put through failures up on the thing. It's through failures they can act out this drama. He also notices a common feature to these failures, saying, so looking for commonness, that's division, for common themes or unifying themes. Common theme to these failures saying, it's the same kind of failure. It's silly. That's the problems we're after. So the problems that you come in with midwifery isn't a one-off. It's a repeating problem. It's the same kind of failure. It's the same kind of bullshit lie. Some small thing that dad will lie about, blame mum or blame the son. He gets to be the big man. He gets to be the Trump. He gets to be the Netanyahu. He gets to be the priest. He gets to be the king and crush someone else with the full use of his emotions. That's love. That's what it means to be strong. That's what it means to be knowing. That's what it means to be in a healthy relationship. But it's not, it's a sick relationship. Everyone has this. Everyone has this. Everyone has this. Therefore, this art is for everyone. Necessarily so. Okay, let's pause there. Got a lot to reflect about. Next time we'll finish it off. We've got 2 more sections. We can wonder about where's he going now that he has reflected on the lawnmower scene, realized he's already carrying a false teaching that prevented him from speaking out then. So that the midwife says, hey, take that state of mind even further back. Take that DeLorean time machine, your state of mind, even further back. What happened when someone challenged it? Now he's got a new, even earlier scene that he's reviewing. And he's starting to make more connections. So we can say it's a division of demonstration. He's seeing another scene where that same drama was being played out. Now we can look for common themes. It's always something obvious. It's always something trivial. Something that we can see through and see dad's wrong. But it's loving, apparently. But it always destroys what I consider most beautiful. It was beautiful and exquisite how he painted and put together the lawnmower. But it was fucked up by his dad. It's beautiful and the lake. But it was ruined. So, today I've been reflecting on, hey, there's 2 sorts of people who approach me when I play music. One, the negative type, like we've been talking about here, the narcissistic type. People who want to destroy what's beautiful. And they always are very confident. Sometimes they're undercover cops. Very confident. Quick to violence. Argumentative. Interrupting. Critical. Always negative bullshit. All they are doing is imitating these early scenes from their parents that they've never reviewed. And as our chatter was saying, we got to look out for them because we want to direct the questions about what's more meaningful, not this horseshit, not stuff that destroys beauty, but we want to direct questions about what will encourage beauty and excellence and truth. Whether they are kings and clergy, whether they're our parental figures from childhood, whether they are our loved ones in our relationships, or whether they're just some Joe on the street that happens to be passing us playing guitar. But most importantly is to yourself. When do you treat yourself this way? You don't need anyone around to do it. Once you've learned it, it's there. Once he learnt from the earlier scene not to question his dad, he didn't question his dad in the lawnmower scene. But most importantly to yourself, and second most importantly to your loved ones in relationships. The kind of relationship like this that's lasted 2 years, someone facilitating this benefit of the soul of subject B, but also in our intimate relationships. Otherwise, it's just going to be like this. Looking for bullshit scenarios that destroy beauty and excellence as an opportunity to express yourself most fully because of a sick idea of love. Based on lies. That's what human relationships are, unless it is a love bound with a shared love of understanding, which includes, most importantly, dream analysis and philosophical midwifery. That's the awakening to a new way of being that we can do with our loved ones and maybe one day with the world. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for the people who joined me in chat today. Feel free to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow along on Twitch, join the Discord if you want to share your insights or meet up with someone to practice your dialectic with. And you will get a notification when we go live if you're on the Discord. You also donate to the channel, buy me a coffee, there's a link below. And if you are someone who knows about video cameras and stuff to make this stream even better, please drop me a line. And because the more pretty that I might seem on Twitch, like the other Twitch streamers, maybe the more we can share this call to adventure. There we go. Number 2, call to adventure with even more people. Awaken this new way of being that might even be the way of being of the new age. Necessarily so. Thank you once again for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.